No person has 100%. I've heard it said in a relationship, the most the other person will have is 80% what you need. There will always be 20% that they don't have to give you. The mistake we make is we leave the 80 to go find the 20 in somebody else. The problem is that next person will be missing 20% as well. I know some of you are thinking, Joel, my wife is missing a lot more than 20%. Think of it this way. If she had more, she wouldn't have married you. I'm sticking with the ladies. Part of the 20% that I'm missing that Victoria needs is I don't like to talk a lot. You see me up here and I seem outgoing, but in private, I'm more quiet and reserved. Small talk is not one of my favorite things. And yes, at home we talk and laugh and have fun together, but Victoria and her family, they can talk for hours. They enjoy each other. We were having lunch one time at our house with all of her family, and after about 30 minutes, when I'd finished eating, I asked to be excused, and I went to the back and watched the football game. 3.5 hours later, I came back, and they were still sitting at the table. Nobody had moved. I was so amazed. I asked them, did y'all go somewhere? Victoria said, no, we didn't go anywhere. I said, what are you talking about? Victoria said, nothing. They talk about nothing longer than anybody I know. But the key to a good relationship is to recognize the other person's strengths and weaknesses, then give them room to be who they are. Don't try to squeeze them into your mold. What I appreciate about Victoria is she doesn't say, Joel, come in here and visit with us for 3.5 hours or I'll get upset. I'll give you the cold shoulder. She recognizes that's a part of the 20% that I don't have. I thank God every day that I didn't get it. But Victoria, she doesn't try to squeeze me into her mold. And even more importantly, she doesn't try to get something from me that I don't have. If you're relying on another person to meet all your needs and become everything in your life, you're going to be disappointed. You have to let them off the hook. Sometimes God will let us go through seasons where we're not getting what we expect from people. On purpose, He'll have them withhold it to teach us to not rely on another person, but to get our encouragement, our value, our worth from Him. And when I first started ministering back in 1999, I was very insecure, very unsure of myself. I'd never done it. My dad had that heart attack and went to be with the Lord, and I stepped up to pastor the church. And I was so concerned about what people thought. Was I doing it good enough? Were they going to accept me? After the services, when I talked with visitors and different people, I lived off of people's compliments. Joel, that was good today. I really enjoyed it. Those comments were like water to a thirsty soul. I was getting my approval, my validation from people, and God uses that to keep us going, keep us moving. But at some point, like a mother weans a baby off a bottle so the child can grow up, God is going to wean you off having to have people's compliments, people's applause. Doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It means you're going to get to a place where you're not dependent on someone else cheering you on so you can feel good about yourself. You're not dependent on them complimenting you and keeping you encouraged. It's nice to hear, but you've developed this self-sufficiency. You don't rely on people for their approval. You go to God for your approval. The first year that I started ministering at Lakewood, every time I got up to speak, people would cheer for me. They were very encouraging, very loyal and supportive. Every time I walked off the platform, Victoria would say, Joel, that was amazing today. You did so good. Could have been the worst message in the world. I could always count on her to tell me it was good. And I know sometimes she was lying, but I needed it back then. One day, I just finished my message about a year in, and I walked off the platform, and Victoria didn't say a word. I stood there and waited, gave her plenty of opportunities, still nothing. I thought, well, she's just preoccupied, thinking about something else. I went out to visit with the visitors and talk with different people. Not one person complimented me on my sermon. Usually every other person says something just being polite. I thought they were playing a trick on me. I left there so discouraged. I got home, my little dog can hear our car coming in. She's always at the back door, so happy to see me, jumping up on me. I opened the door, my dog wasn't even there. I walked over, she was in her bed, and she looked up at me, barely opened her eyes, like, oh, it's just you. Closed her eyes, went back to sleep. God will use your dog even to work on you. Looking back now, I realize God was teaching me to not rely on what people think, to have their applause and their approval. If I had not learned that back then, I wouldn't be standing here today. Because the higher God takes you, there will be more disapproval, more opposition, more critics. If you're basing your worth and value on how people are treating you, how much they're cheering you on, and you're trying to keep all of them happy, you'll never become everything God created you to be. In those early years, if I heard one negative comment, it ruined my whole Sunday. I'd go home discouraged, thinking that I didn't do good enough. But now that I've been weaned off that bottle, so to speak, if I hear something negative, it doesn't bother me. I realize as long as I'm doing my best, honoring God, I don't have to have people's approval. I have Almighty God's approval.